Welcome back to 2008. This is a CL65 AMG, and this is what Mercedes-Benz used to be. Now, before we start this design of the car and talking about it, I'd just like to give a massive shout out to our guys at the Dealer Choice right there. If you want to give them a follow and a shout out, I'll put everything in the description box below. So, the CL65, possibly literally the jetliner of the CL range, because essentially what this car is a two-door S-Class. And then looking around the design of this car, you wouldn't really tell that it's crazy looking. It looks more subtle, it looks more under the radar, because when you look at this, you think maybe it's like a CL500 or even a CL450. But the only indication that you can tell that this is a not so standard CL product is right here, the V12 biturbo badge, because what lies underneath there is something really to behold. Then looking at the rest of this car, it is incredibly long. I think this is like 6 foot or even 6 feet long. And I'm only 5'8". And if I were to lie down, I only reach probably until here. So you can really see that to drive this thing, you really do have to watch out. And the front end, I just love how the front end looks, because it's menacing, it's in your face. Essentially what it says is move or get moved. That's the whole ethos of this car. And then looking here, I've honestly never seen this on any other production car. It has 2 separate brake caliper pieces for brake pads. Because of how massive this thing is and how much weight it has to carry and how large it is, I'm pretty sure that was really thought out and really said that, yeah, if you need to stop this thing, we need 2 separate pieces for it to work. And then coming alongside here, I just love how this thing looks. And also, I love cars that also don't have a B-pillar right here. Honestly, sometimes it makes it look ugly. So when you roll down the windows, everything is open. Then coming to the rear section of the car, which is outrageous. As you can see, quad tailpipes right there, which is owing to its heritage as an AMG product, because this is what AMG really used to be. Because by the time this came out, the SLS was being put into production. And looking over here with the CL65 badge, yeah, it ties to what lies underneath the bonnet of the car. So now, let's head into the interior.
Okay guys, welcome to 2008, just like Eugene said in the intro, because this car brings back a whole bunch of memories of what Mercedes really used to be, and especially the top of Mercedes and AMG, which is this, the CL65. Now inside here, these seats are magnificent. They are so comfortable. They're really well bolstered and really hug you in nicely. But I don't know if you can see just how absolutely thick they are. I mean, the amount of material used in here is absurd, but it's worth it. I mean, when you're going to be cruising in this car, because that's what this car is used for, you're going to be comfortable. Another thing to just talk on quick is this massive steering wheel. I mean, it looks like a flippin' boat's wheel to control a yacht, which this actually is. If you really think about it, of how well built this car is, the materials used in this car, and how performance biased in terms of cruising this car is, this really makes sense on why you've got a boat steering wheel in the car now. Now you have your basic controls here, obviously for your phone and your OKs, for the different menus there, as well as some really nice steel flappy paddles. You obviously got your controls here. Again, classic Mercedes, your park, reverse, neutral drive on the right hand side here. So don't get confused, especially if you're used to indicators being there. And you get in this Mercedes, you have to get used to using it there. It's no longer a drive select over here. Now coming to the materials on this car, once again, they're just phenomenal. I mean, you've got this nice suede running along the entirety of the roof, and this really nice stitched leather. Now, this car is just absurdly built. Weirdly enough, you can lift this up here and get some more storage space in the bins there. You've got a nice sized bin over here, and this really nice diamond stitched leather running along. Everything's well integrated. You've obviously got your seat adjustments. And one weird thing is actually these window controls. Now, in order for the window to go down, you have to press the top button. Or no, is it the other way around? It's the other way around. Sorry, it's very confusing. These buttons are very flat. And so actually to put it down, you have to press that one. And then to put it up, you have to press that one. It's very, very confusing. We'll show you. I'll let Eugene show it to you on that side there.
Yeah, you can see to roll it down, you have to press the bottom section. And then to make it go up, you have to press the front section. It's almost like what Lamborghini does, in that they literally switch around what you think is normal.
Yes, it's It's very confusing, but I'm sure when you get used to it, it's okay. I mean, it looks really nice. The materials used on it's really nice aluminium feel, and it's all integrated quite nicely, which is really what is all in this car. Everything's integrated, simple, but done right. Now, you have a really nice gauge cluster here. It is actually digital, which may be a plus, maybe a minus. I mean, these little gauges here aren't. These are actual gauges, but your main gauge for your speedometer is digital. And as you can see, there is 360 kilometers an hour on your gauge cluster, which means you know that this car gets a move on. Now, I'd like to just touch on how they've designed this, which is actually really nice. Actually, it's almost how they're designing modern cars now. It's having one big display here. Mercedes almost integrated it fully inside like this. Now, you do have your ESP control as well as parking assist. I mean, you have all the glorious things. You've got some like your lane keep assist and all your brights and your lights and all those necessary controls, I should say. And then possibly my favorite part, they're lucky that I couldn't get it out, but there is your IWC engineer inside here with your AMG badging. And I'm very tempted to find a way to get one of these out and put it on my wrist, because man, does it look good. And you know that this is an AMG because that is inside there. Now again, everything is quite simple in here. You do have an AMG badge, which is very scarce in this car. Like, if you look around, there's barely any AMG badges on the car. You have the tiny AMG badge here and this AMG badge there. Other than that, and on the seats as well, you've got a little steel AMG badge. Other than that, there's not really many AMG badges to shout that this is an AMG. So I'm going to let Eugene now talk a bit more about the passenger side and a little bit about the central side over here.
So as I'm sitting in here, it is an incredibly well-built car. Incredibly well-built. I mean, this came out during the stock market crash, and I don't know what the boys at AMG were thinking at the time by putting this many materials inside and making it literally rival a Bentley, because at the end of the day, this was basically an S-Class in just two-door fashion. And then you can see you have your seat controls as what a normal Mercedes has always been on the door cards. I do prefer that, because then you don't have to be faffling around with controls over here. I already showed you the window controls. Very, very confusing. Then if you look here, I have to talk about this. Since we're in 2008 again, I have to flip this up. And that just tells you that this time in the car industry, phones and telephones were just the epitome of luxury. If I open up here, you can clearly see the Mercedes phone, although it doesn't work anymore. Still a nice feature to have, and a nice feature to show your passengers. You have your driving select modes here. You have your manual, you have your manual mode, your comfort, and your sports. Of course, we will be using that when we are driving. Then the button over here is actually very interesting. So in all the Mercedes cars, I don't know if they do it anymore. If you didn't really want people to be in your blind view in sitting in the rear, you could just put down the back headrest, as you can see, and it would just give you a lot more space. But the cabin of this interior, honestly, I think even rivals most cars today. I don't know if Mateo agrees, but yeah, this cabin still holds up even after almost 20 years on the road. So now let's check out the rear seats.
Now coming to the back end, because this weirdly enough is a four-seater. I mean, like Eugene said, this is basically an S-Class with two doors, and really competed well against the Bentley. Now sitting in the back, it definitely competes with that generation, that pre-2012 generation Bentley Continental for sure. I mean, you have this really lovely diamond stitching leather around here, as well as this really nice wood trim, which does run along the entirety of the car, which was Mercedes and BMW and Audi from back in the day, when wood was still a thing, and it felt premium inside here. I mean, even here, there's like this really nice wood texture. Obviously, you can open up, you get some storage space here for your basic necessities, your phones, things like that. And then you do have this nice pulley lever to bring your extremely thick armrest down. Now you can see that this is just lovely. And then if you think you don't have enough space, you can actually open it up and you get even more space inside here. Now you don't get cup holders, but what do we care about cup holders? Oh no, actually, you do. I forgot about that. So excuse me, you don't need to go and hate me in the comments now, but you do actually get cup holders. Sorry, Mercedes. They integrated it very well, which is a big part of this car that I love. Everything is just simple. Everything's put in the right places and done well. You have your AC controls here, and then you just have a basic armrest with window control, because these windows can actually come down. Now, in terms of headroom, you actually really enough have some really good headroom. This feels less claustrophobic than the CLS did. And in terms of legroom, this is my more or less driving position. So if someone's a bit taller than me is driving, you might experience a bit of an issue with legroom, but it's not too bad. It's very livable. And because these back seats are basically the front seats brought back here, they are super comfortable. So let's head to the boot and see how practical the car is. Okay guys, we are now at the back end of the CL65, and we're here to talk about how practical the car is. And as you can see, because of the shape and the design, the car actually is decently enough practical. I mean, you've got quite a far reach inside of there, which means you can fill quite a few things inside, and you've got a decent enough wide space to actually lift things in. And because the car is not too high, it's actually quite easy to get things in and out. Now you have these little pouches here on each side to stop things rolling out if you want smaller things to be put in. And Mercedes has actually offered little mats in case you want to put something a bit rougher in the back here and you don't want it to mess up anything on the inside. Now, if you were to look, you do have your button controls here, as well as your spare tire and your toolkit in there. I do see a weird lever here. I don't know what it's for. Oh, okay. It's for holding your groceries. That's what I was just a bit curious. So if you see me looking down there to see what it was, it's just because it caught my eye now. But overall, the car is very practical. And that's mainly because of the sheer size of this car in terms of width and length. And so that's a big plus to have. It looks like it's even more practical than that of the CLS, which is a big plus. So yeah, overall, practical, gets a thumbs up from me. So let's head to the best part about this car.
So now moving underneath the bonnet of this car, we have to check out this colossal mammoth engine. Obviously, handcrafted by AMG themselves, a 6-liter biturbo V12 with power output of around 450 kilowatts and 604 horsepower. And torque, get this, 1,000 Newton meters of torque, all going to the rear wheels. Now, if you look at this engine bay, it is absolutely gigantic. I mean, if I measure it from here to here, it is hard because it was on. It's incredibly large. I think this engine is probably larger than the front end of my own personal car. That's how large this car is and how large this engine bay is. So now we have to start it and see how it sounds, because this is something you don't play with. Let's take it away. And the gearbox is so out of this world. It is so out of this world. And the brakes, yeah, you do hear those brakes. But one thing I can just say about this car is just how solid it feels. It feels incredibly solid. It is unbelievable just how solid this thing feels. If I give it a little bit of beans, we're getting sideways there a bit, which is kind of cool. So it is a short test drive, but it's still a fine thing to have, you know. It feels good, it feels luxurious. You really do get going in this car. You really do get going. You really do get going. So we stop here and we turn it around.
Yeah, again guys, don't get confused. That's not an indicator. It is actually the way to actually get the car to go into reverse or drive. That is your drive today.
And everything just has such a weight to it that you just feel, it's hunkered down. Oh my, yeah, so everything rises in this car. It rises. You are just, there's no words for, there's not enough tarmac on the road surface for this thing to actually use its full capabilities.
I am now inside the CL65, and I just have to say how smooth, calm and controlled everything is in this car. It is a precision machine. Now this car is I can already feel the torque, and the steering is so light. I mean, obviously as a performance car you probably want a more aggressive, more firm feeling steering, but as a cruiser, like, you can use one finger and cruise in this car. It's really got the epitome of luxury, but at the same time some absurd performance, which we'll experience a little bit of. Now, we don't unfortunately have a large stretch of road to feel it fully, but the torque literally pulls the ground. You don't go forward, the earth goes backwards in this car. This car is just absurd.
And I have to put on my seatbelt because I forgot to put it on.
I wish we had the Autobahn to actually test this car's capabilities. I'm going to do a light pull over here.
Oh my days.
And if you're not awake, this will wake you up. It is silly. It is silly what this car does.
You have so much power underneath your right foot. So much. So much. So we'll join you for the conclusion bit. Stick around. Now that we've come to the end of this wonderful review of this colossal mammoth of a car, what do we think? I think Mateo and I can agree that Mercedes needs to go back to this formula. These days, they just don't make cars like this anymore. The C63, I have no idea what they're doing there. I read a blog recently where they're saying it takes time to warm up to that engine. I don't think no one will ever warm up to that engine, but with something like this, or even a V8, that's something to really like and really, really love, because this is what gets us petrol heads going and keeping us up every single day of the year. So again, I just like to say a massive thank you to Dealer's Choice here in Sandton. If you want to give them a follow and give them you want to see their details, make sure you click the links down below. I'll put everything in the description box. Hope you've enjoyed this review, because we have. And as well, if you want to keep watching videos like this, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you for the next one. Bye bye.